Welcome to the episode 19 summary of the Ulysses Unlocked podcast, where we analyze Ulysses by James Joyce one page at a time. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment to support us. For a more detailed analysis, listen to the Ulysses Unlocked podcast, where we analyze Ulysses by James Joyce in detail, one page at a time. Today, we are diving headfirst into a single, incredibly dense scene from Joyce's masterpiece. We're going to watch a clash of minds that unpacks a whole universe of meaning about art, history, and what it means to be Irish. So, let's get right into it.
So we kick things off with this really powerful thought from our hero, Stephen Dedalus. He's literally in his boss's office to get paid, but right away, his mind isn't on the money. It's on entrapment. He feels cornered. So what are these nooses he's talking about? Are we talking about financial debt, or is it something deeper, something historical? This one line just sets this incredibly tense mood for everything that's about to unfold.
And this whole scene really boils down to a showdown. It pits Stephen, our young, rebellious artist, against the guy who signs his checks, the school's headmaster, Mr. Deasy. You know, it's that classic conflict, youth versus age, new ideas versus old authority. So in one corner, you've got Stephen Dedalus. He's brilliant, he's an intellectual, but he is flat broke. And in the other corner, you have Mr. Deasy, an old unionist who really sees himself as part of Ireland's ruling class. He's seen it all, he's lived through 3 generations, and he is absolutely 100% convinced of his own wisdom. And let me tell you, he is more than ready to share it.
Now, this is where Joyce is just so brilliant. He doesn't just come out and tell us what Deasy is like. No, he shows us. The objects that fill the headmaster's study tell us everything we need to know. The whole room is basically a museum of this man's mind.
Okay, check this out. Deasy proudly shows off this collection of old Stuart coins. Now, you'd think these are symbols of Irish pride, right? Well, not so fast. They're actually something called gun money. This was a debased currency, literally minted from melted-down cannons during a failed English military campaign on Irish soil. It was a total catastrophe that led to financial ruin for the Irish. And Stephen's reaction? He is not impressed. To him, these coins are just junk. He calls them the base treasure of a bog. He sees right through them. They're not valuable relics, they're symbols of a pathetic history and his boss's obsession with the base or corrupt nature of money. He just dismisses them out of hand. And it's not just the coins. The whole room is filled with clues. The apostle spoons, they just scream of a wealthy, privileged background. The shell collection? To Stephen, it's just more proof of a materialistic worldview. He scoffs at all of it, thinking of it as a hoard, dead treasure, hollow shells. You can just feel his contempt for what he sees as Deasy's spiritually bankrupt life. So, the stage is perfectly set. And now, Mr. Deasy decides it's lecture time. He launches into this big speech about money and history. The only problem? His so-called wisdom is built on a complete foundation of lies. Deasy leans in, ready to drop what he thinks is a pearl of wisdom from the one and only William Shakespeare. You know, a classic bit of advice about the importance of saving your money. Sounds pretty sensible, right? Well, here's the twist. Stephen knows exactly where that line is from. It's spoken by Iago, the absolute villain of Othello, at the very moment he's cheating someone out of their money. The wisdom Deasy is so proud of is literally advice from a con artist. Joyce is practically screaming at us that this guy's moral compass is completely broken. And believe me, it doesn't stop there. His entire worldview is just rotten to the core. His version of history is a cocktail of made-up family stories, misogyny, and some pretty blatant anti-Semitism. He even claims that Ireland never persecuted Jews, only to turn around and blame them for all of Europe's problems. It's just a stunning portrait of proud, loud ignorance. And all of this leads us to the real heart of the scene, the simple act of Stephen getting his monthly pay. This one little transaction just blows the lid off the massive, unbridgeable gap between their two worlds.
After counting out every last coin, Deasy hits Stephen with this boast. But it's more than a boast. It's a challenge. It's a moral test. He's not just talking about finances. He's talking about character, about respectability. He's looking Stephen in the eye and asking, "Can you say the same? Are you my equal?"
And the answer is a big resounding no. While Deasy is puffing his chest out with pride, Stephen's mind is racing like an old-timey calculator, frantically adding up a truly staggering amount of debt that he owes to what feels like half the city of Dublin.
And this is just a quick look. He owes money to his friends, to other writers, to his landlady. The list just goes on and on. And here's a fun fact. Almost all of these names belong to real people that James Joyce himself was in debt to. So yeah, this whole scene is incredibly personal.
His whole salary for the month, a little over £3, is just a drop in the bucket. It barely makes a dent, and Stephen knows he has spendthrift habits. He feels powerless. And you can see this isn't just about money. It's about two completely different ways of moving through the world.
But let's zoom out. This isn't just an argument about balancing a budget. Joyce is using this very personal fight to get at something much bigger. Those invisible nooses that he mentioned at the very beginning, the things that are trapping Stephen. What you're really watching here is a miniature version of the cultural wars of 1904 Dublin. Deasy stands for that Protestant unionist ideal of thrift and saving. Meanwhile, Stephen represents a kind of Catholic Irish indifference, maybe even hostility, to the idea of building up wealth. Their little argument is actually a proxy war for centuries of conflict.
Stephen's contempt for this money-first mentality runs so deep that he even turns it on Shakespeare. In his mind, the great bard gets reframed not as a timeless genius, but as just another practical Englishman who made money. And for Stephen, there's no greater corruption of the artistic spirit than that. And that's the absolute genius of Joyce, isn't it? He takes a totally mundane event, a guy getting paid, and transforms it into this profound battlefield. It's about money, sure, but it's also about Irish history, English power, the role of the artist, and the very idea of debt itself. He shows us the invisible prisons of history and culture that shape every single thing we do.
So that leaves us with one final, massive question to think about. When Stephen feels those three nooses tightening around his neck, what are they really? Is it just the pounds and shillings he owes his friends? Or is it the crushing weight of a history, a culture, and a nation that he feels he just can't escape? And maybe the biggest question of all, can his art ever truly set him free?